Hello, I'm John. I'd like to start off the briefing by introducing our new sponsor, Mercerman Seed out of West Point, Iowa. They will be the sponsor of our NCGA suite of services. Now, to start off today's briefing, I'd like to sort of talk a little bit about hot and dry. And of course, we're getting into June, but it's really getting dry in the upper Midwest, particularly North and South Dakota. I noticed on the drought monitor now it's under a D2 or severe drought parts of that area. Now, even outside of the Dakotas, most of the Corn Belt now has had this change of pattern for the last 2 weeks that we're looking at dry weather or at least below normal precipitation in a lot of other areas. So that's really getting me to think, are we really getting into a dry and hot period ahead? And I'll be talking about that. So the last 7 days, as promised, it was a very quiet week. You can see hardly any rain at all over parts of Nebraska, southern Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, northern Missouri. Elsewhere, it was pretty quiet just about everywhere. A couple pockets of heavier precipitation in yellow, but overall a very quiet week. Now, one of the reasons I have a concern for this dry weather is look at the last 2 weeks. These areas shaded in red, that's only 1/4 of the precipitation that would normally occur during this period, and yellow is no precipitation, or not yellow, white is no precipitation. So you can see here that we've really gone through a dry spell. Now, I've sort of harped on it for a long time. Prior to this, we've had a lot of rain over many areas, so it set us up in a good situation. But now what I want to see is sustainable rain. I don't want it to just drop off. So what we're seeing here is these changes in soil moisture. We have North and South Dakota really dry. We had last week, in the last 2 weeks, we had more green over the central part of the Corn Belt. And what you can see now is that's shrinking. Even over Indiana and Ohio, that green is shrinking. We're getting unshaded, which is still normal. But look at these little dots of yellow here and there. I see a small area in Iowa. I see a small area in northern Missouri, southern Illinois. That's emerging dryness. So we want more precipitation over the areas. We want to sustain it. Just because we had all this rain heading into summer as we went through the spring in many areas doesn't mean it can drop off. So temperatures last week, in addition to the very dry weather, we had very hot weather over the Dakotas and the upper Midwest. You can see that in areas of red. That's over 6 degrees above normal for the week. Very hot in that region. So the story that we're going to be continuing to discuss, I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, is the mean position of either a ridge of high pressure, that's that purple dashed line, that's a jet stream that pushes up unusually far to the north, that's associated with hot weather, or the digging of a trough of low pressure, that's that red line, and that means cooler than normal weather. So this week, that line here, that ridge of high pressure, is going to be the main story. So we're going to have well above normal temperatures centered over the areas in the darkest shades of red here. So it's really going to help dry out soils, and that is not good in some of these areas. In areas that have had it good, it's going to be drying things out very quickly. Now there will be some very heavy rainfall in a few spots, and you can see here a bullseye of very heavy rain over parts of Wisconsin. But when you look at the rest of the Corn Belt, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, generally modest precipitation, you can see there is some scattered heavier precipitation over northern Indiana and Ohio here and there. But again, it looks like a very quiet week in most areas. Matter of fact, I looked at one model here. I sort of looked out at an accumulation of rainfall going out through the 26th of June. This is just one model. It's subject to change. But look at anywhere from North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. Most of that region is receiving less than an inch of rain out through pretty much close to the end of June. So I think we are generally transitioning into talking more about needing rain than not needing rain. Now, parts of the eastern Corn Belt, you can see a little bit more, 2 to 4 inches of rain, so that'll keep things in okay shape. North and South Dakota, not enough to do much change, and it'll probably even get worse as far as dry soils. Now we get into the 15th through the 20th here. I think the biggest feature here is look at that jet stream. We start to have a little bit of a dip in the jet stream over the middle part of the nation. Now, in the 6 to 10 day range, you don't see it all that strong, so temperatures are still averaging above normal. Not as hot, but as we go through this period and we get into the latter part of June here, what you see is that dip in the jet stream becomes a bit more pronounced, and what it does is it brings those hot temperatures back to normal, seasonal normal. So as far as temperatures go, starting out well above normal this week, hot temperatures. Then as we go into the 6 to 10 day range, gradually transitioning, and then into that 11 to 15 day range. By that time, temperatures will get back to seasonal normals, and the hottest temperatures will push off to the western U.S. So hot and then normal. Now, as far as precipitation goes, I wish I had some better news. Here's week 1. I think I've already talked about week 1, and here's week 2. Right now, models are calling for no sign of a widespread heavy rain during week 2 either. Matter of fact, I see a lot of yellow, and that's saying below normal for week 2. So as you might suspect, soil moisture is going to be really drying out. Soils are going to continue to dry out almost over all areas over the next 10 days. Here's your week 3 and 4 with things getting a bit more dire here as far as needing rain. I thought we'd look at this. Temperatures right now, 3 and 4, near normal. So at least we're not having necessarily the extreme heat and dryness. And we'll see how this works out. They do have above normal in this axis right here, but on weeks 3 and 4 this far out, I don't give that a whole lot of credibility. Now, I don't know if you noticed this week. I have a new product. I'd like you to give it a try. It's called the Weather Decisions Planner. A lot of people have said they really like this. This maintains your situational awareness. Each morning you'll get an email, or you can bookmark this site as well and look at it at any time. And this is the start of some precise weather information that I plan to get for your area. It gives you a lot of detail. It gives you long range information. It gives you short range. But the most important part of the Weather Decisions Planner is really the next hours to days, and it really gives you a lot of information. So take a look at it. You can sign up right here, bwodecisions.com/NCGA/NCGA-WDP. So if you want to write that down, or you can come back to this briefing or stop it to get that. I'll also be putting it on the content as we go through the week where you can sign that up. So take a look at that. I think you'll like it. And again, it's something I use every morning. I just take a look at it. It gives me sometimes I think I know what's going on, and I look at that. I say, wow, look at that. This is giving me maybe a big pattern change a week out, or maybe it's telling me something during the day for rainfall that I didn't know. So the trends as far as the takeaway here, the next 10 days, most of the days looks like a hot spell, then moderation, below normal rainfall. I don't see any change in that right now, but I'll be keeping my eyes open for that. And emerging dryness over areas that have been in pretty good shape, and then continuing very dry over parts of the upper Midwest. Hope everyone has a great week, and we will talk to you again next weekend.